Hey, Amita, it's so nice to have you on the show today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Elijah. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really excited to be here.
Beautiful, beautiful. I love that. And thank you too so very much for being here, you see. I truly appreciate it. And you see, Amita, oftentimes I love to thank my guest for two things. And I do this so often to the point where it has become my anthem because it means a whole lot to me. So firstly, I want to say thank you so very much, Amita, for investing in yourself. You see, you are on this platform right now, right here, because you invested in yourself. And oftentimes, Amita, I love to make reference to the amazing mango tree. You see, some months back, I was on a particular road, and just by the roadside, there was this tall, unattractive mango tree. And I use the word unattractive because the mango tree's got no mangoes on it, and the leaves were all dry. So I just walked past it and I went my way. But you see, Amita, just recently I was on that same road, and this time around, a lot's changed about the mango tree. You see, the mango tree caught my attention pretty good from a distance, and immediately I got the urge to move so close to it, of which I did, and it wowed me because now the mango tree's got a lot of mangoes on it, beautiful green leaves and healthy branches. It was such a very special moment that day, Amita. I tell you, I was so excited. I was staring at the beauty of the fruit, the branches, and the green leaves. Beautiful stuff. Here is my point. The fact that you dedicated your time, energy, and resources to becoming the amazing Amita that you are today, that alone has made it really impossible for me to skip you. And that's why you see you got the request from me to be on the show because I was attracted to the fruit of all that you're doing, the impact your work is having, your philosophies, your insight, how you're offering your solution. It's amazing. And just before you got the request from me, I said to myself, I've got to benefit from these beautiful things Amita is doing. Not only me now, but even the audience. And here we are today with the amazing Amita. So thank you so very, very, very much, very, very, very much for investing in yourself. And secondly, thank you for saying yes to the invite. Because if you had said nope, there was nothing Elisha could do about it. Thank you so much. So, so much. Thank you.
You're absolutely welcome. You're absolutely welcome.
Beautiful, love it. So let's get started, Amita. You see, I'm quite excited to have you on the show today for two reasons. Firstly, my interest in knowledge seeking. I believe in order for one to transition from a terrible situation to that of a beautiful one, Amita, I believe it takes the application of knowledge, quality information. And you see, Amita, ever since I discovered that light in the Hebrew means knowledge and darkness means ignorance, I've been so keen to knowledge seeking because I do not want to remain in the dark. So that's going to make our conversation today very, very important to me and even to the listeners. And the second reason why I'm excited to have the amazing Amita on the show is for the sake of the audience. They say, Amita, we live in an age where information is as abundant as grains of sand. We've got lots of information flying out there. So these folks
Mhm.
trust me for, yeah, quality, eye opening, and very important information, of which I am totally convinced that our conversation is going to be insightful and impactful. So, for that reason, Amita, let's get started with your introduction. Talk to us about your personal or professional journey, because right now we are so curious. We want to know how Amita got here. Then, afterwards, I've gotten some beautiful questions for you. Okay, Amita, over to
All right.
you.
All right. Well, thank you, Elijah, again for having me on. So I know that we don't have too much time, so I'm going to be short and sweet. So my personal journey is I was born and brought up in India, and I came to the United States to go to graduate school to study psychology, and so that is how I got here. My professional journey, I have been in the field of psychology since 1993, and I've seen a lot of different people, obviously thousands and thousands of people since then. Started out working with younger population, teenagers and children, but currently I work primarily with adults and with couples. And so I do what I do because I absolutely love it. I absolutely enjoy it. When I am in front of my clients in my office, or even when I'm seeing them online, something happens. And I think it's called flow. Flow is when we are so engrossed in the work that we are doing that we forget everything else. And I experience that flow every time I am in front of my clients. I am one with them. I'm working with them. I have nothing else on my mind. And that experience is a very magical experience, especially when it culminates in the other person having an aha moment, having growth, having learned that, oh, I can be different, I can be better, I can be happier. Nothing compares to that feeling. So that is my kind of journey. As far as my professional interests go, growing up in India, I was very much influenced by the Indian philosophies. It's not something that I learned not what's the word I'm looking for? Not professionally, but I didn't learn it in school, but I really learned it by just growing up there. And you just kind of absorb that information just by being around people, being in that culture and that kind of stuff. And as I have studied Western psychology, I have started to notice that there is a focus on treating symptoms in the West, whereas in the East, there is a focus on looking at the root causes of problems. And so my interests have shifted back and taken me back towards my roots, where I'm starting to look at people's issues as, why is this happening and how can we solve it, instead of just throwing pills at people, medication. What are the other things that we could be doing that are more holistic to help people? So that is my journey. And like I said, I work a lot with couples and a lot with trauma, and I do EMDR therapy. And I also focus a lot on the body mind soul connection in my work.
Amazing. You see, what I love most about your work is your approach. Getting to listen to you and how you're talking about going down to the root causes. That's amazing because we've got to understand where this stuff is coming from and approach it right from there. That's amazing. And you also
Yeah.
said something that caught my attention pretty good. So, what made you realize that Western psychology was missing something?
I think that having grown up in another culture does give you a different perspective. Um, you are able to see your world and your surroundings not just from the focus or the lens that you are seeing right now, but you are able to see it differently. Because I grew up in India, I have a slightly different perspective on things. And I think that I am able to see things that are outside the box, so to speak. So most all of my education in psychology has been in the United States. So all of my education in psychology is very much Western psychology. However, I am just naturally drawn to the Eastern philosophies, and just teaching myself more and more about that, I'm starting to get back to my roots and saying, okay, this is different. The way we approach things in the East is different from the way we approach things in the West. And also, having worked with my clients for so many years, I am seeing that there's such a huge emphasis on diagnosing people, oh, you are such and you are such, and you are ADHD, and you are Asperger's, and you are bipolar. And the thing is, I think there's it's important to have some diagnoses when you are trying to help people, maybe with medication, or even to try and figure out what's going on with them. To an extent, it's important to have a diagnosis. But at the same time, I think when we get stuck in the diagnosis mode, then if people are either feeling like they are pigeonholed, or that they are using it as an excuse. And I am one of those therapists, I mean, I joke about this, that I'm not the kind of therapist who's just going to hold your hand and shake my head and say, oh, you poor thing. I'm not that therapist. I'm the therapist who says, okay, yeah, it's sad what happened to you, but now what are we going to do about it? So, I don't allow my clients to get stuck in their diagnoses and say, well, that's what it is and I can't do anything, because I believe that we always have a choice. Well, I mean, of course, what I am talking about right now is what inspired it, because what better place to take people to learn about yogic and Buddhist psychology and Ayurveda, which is the sister science of yoga, than India. And I mean, I am from India. I left India many years ago, and I've gone back to visit and stuff, but that is still home in a way. And so I think it's absolutely beautiful for me to be able to take people back there, introduce them to the different cultural things, and also learn about where the root of yoga and Buddhism and Hinduism and all that stuff came from. And that is the psychology that I'm trying to teach at this retreat. So where else should we go besides India? True healing. Yes, yes. So I'm going to ask you to do a little experiment here, okay? So I want you to, do you have a pet? Do you have a pet? You're going to get a cat. Okay. Okay. Have you been around a lot of cats? You like cats? Okay. Okay. I want you to think about the cutest cat that you have ever seen. Okay. I want you to close your eyes and think about the cutest cat you have ever seen. And I want you to picture it playing around, climbing on you. And while you're holding that picture in your mind, I want you to make the biggest frown you can make. All right, what's happening? Was it easy to make the frown? So that is the mind body connection. I asked you to hold a picture of a cute cat, people who have children or pets. I mean, I have my dog sitting here. It's like, if I'm thinking about them and then I have to change my physical, which is the body, it is very hard to do because our minds and our bodies are connected. The opposite of that is true too. If you are very, very unhappy, it is hard to think of happy things. If you are making a frowny face or an angry face, it is hard to feel happy. So that is the mind body connection. Whatever is going on in our minds affects our body. So that is the top down. Our mind affects our body. And then there is a body to our mind. So our body to mind is called the bottom up. And what we are learning now in psychology and mental health is that we can work both ways. In psychology, especially Western psychology, the mind had so much importance. But now what is called the somatic psychology, which is taking into consideration our bodies, we are learning that we need to work with our bodies as well, because our bodies can influence our mind as well. So, traditional therapy in the West is what's considered talk therapy. And talk therapy or medication management. So talk therapy usually are psychotherapists. So they are counselors, psychotherapists, coaches that are working with you through talk therapy. And talk therapy has been mostly focused on cognitive psychology. And cognition is our brain. So it's mostly been cognitive psychology. What we are now learning is that we've got to incorporate the body. And that's where we are working with breath work. We do breathing exercises to calm down our nervous system. There is another a psychologist, his name is Stephen Porges, and he came up with the polyvagal theory, which is the vagus nerve is a collection of nerves that runs all the way from our brain to different parts of our body. And what we know is that influences what happens between the mind and the body connection. So like the experiment we did, where you're thinking about something, your body responds in a positive way. The other way around is that if your body is stressed, it's going to cause your mind to be stressed. So the polyvagal theory, somatic psychology, breath work, all of these help people manage that connection between the body and the mind. Because there's another saying that I like using. It's not mine, it's somebody else's, but it's really important and poignant and tells you what it is. It's like the disease of anxiety is the disease of overthinking. Okay? People who are anxious are constantly thinking. They're like, oh my God, this is going to happen. That is going to happen. Da, 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 da. That's what's going on. Cognitive psychology is about thinking. You cannot solve a problem by doing the same thing. You cannot solve the problem of overthinking by thinking about. So you have to have a different approach. And the different approach is working with your body, working with your breath, So, sometimes when people are very, very anxious, you can splash cold water on your face. And that tends to help your vagus nerves go into your body and calm your body down. And when your body's calm, your mind gets calmer. Breathing exercises. In yoga, there are several breathing exercises that will actually help, and research has shown these. Western type research has shown that these actually work. There's something called alternate nostril breathing. And this is where you breathe in through one nostril. So you're holding your nose, and you breathe out through the other one. And then you breathe in through that one, and this actually allows people's heart rate and pulse to go down. So if you are having an anxiety attack, or you're in a situation where you're feeling very anxious, you could practice this kind of breathing to bring down your heart rate. No amount of I shouldn't be anxious, I shouldn't be anxious, I shouldn't be anxious is going to do it. Because when you are talking about I shouldn't be anxious, the exact opposite of that tends to happen, which is you become anxious. If you're mentioning I shouldn't be, then you have already brought the idea of I should be into your mind. You can't have one without the other. Absolutely. So the first thing I'm going to say is I want to leave the audience with the idea that you started the show with, that you always need to invest in yourself. You absolutely need to invest in yourself, whether that is through education, whether that is through physical activity and exercise, whether that is through having positive people around you. You need to do whatever you can to invest in yourself. Because if you cannot invest in yourself, if you are not feeling full, you cannot give to others. So you need to take care of yourself first before you can give to others. That's the one thing that I want to leave the audience with. As far as if they want to get in touch with me, my website is www.cincinnatiCouplesCounselor.com. I have to spell Cincinnati because nobody can spell it right unless you know it. It's CINCINNATI, couplescounselor.com. And I am organizing a trip to India in October 15th through October 25th. And we are going to go to the Golden Triangle, which is the Taj Mahal, Delhi, Jaipur. And we're going to stay in Jaipur at a palace. And then from there, we're going to fly to southern India. And the training is on yogic and Buddhist psychology and Ayurveda for mental health. So if you would like to join, please go to my website, or you can give me a call at area code 859-391-1255. That's 859-391-1255. And thank you so much for having me.